welcome everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Huge welcome to this online class on how to keep relationships healthy and happy through challenging times. So I really hope this is going to be valuable and useful to you. You can switch on. We haven't muted anybody, so if anybody wants to make a comment or ask a question, you can either do it in the chat box or even better, you can just unmute yourself and speak and just say whatever it is you want to say. Yeah. So we're also going to have a so I hope you'll be able to speak then, but you don't have to. Again, it's all optional, so it's entirely up to you. So I'm going to do the first part, and then Soraya's going to do the second part. So is there anything else we need to... I'll just introduce Soraya. So this is Dr. Soraya Zavine. She's going to be presenting part of this webinar. And she is the founder of the Neurobalance Academy. And she is passionate about positive psychology and overcoming, well, basically positive psychology and the science of well-being. And she's a real expert on that. So, yeah, is there anything else to say about you? Well, there's lots to say about you.
Right. Okay. So I will thank you for that, Marina. And I will introduce you. Marina is the lead trainer and excellent facilitator. She is an expert on stress and overcoming stress and anxiety. She has 16 years of experience coaching and mentoring people, both individually and in groups. For the last 6 years, she has specialized in how to overcome unpleasant emotions like anxiety and stress, and in how to build our emotional intelligence. So without further ado, I would like to request Marina to start the presentation today.
Right, so we're going to start with, so first I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to go on to slides. So I hope, microphone on, Zoom, okay. Thank you for your patience. Am I sharing my screen? Can everybody see my screen? I hope so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so welcome everybody to this webinar. And so are you living with a family or a partner or with housemates and all maybe getting under each other's feet a little bit right now? Or are tempers getting a little bit strained? Or are you afraid they might? Or do you just want some basically to improve your relationships? So in this class, we're going to show you 3 really powerful ways to diffuse pressure during the lockdown and transform your relationships so that in spite of being together maybe a bit too much, or certainly more than usual at the moment, you'll be able to solve problems and sort out conflicts that come up between you better than ever. And we'll literally give you some tools that you can start using right now to get results straight away. So, yes, I want you to get lots of value from this class. Do listen carefully, take some notes if you can. And, you know, I want you to be able to walk away from this with some really great tools you can start to use and implement straight away. So, today we're going to cover some key research on relationships that's been done and the amazing results that have come out of it. The make or break point of any relationship, and then how to turn that around. How to resolve conflicts that may arise between you in any relationship, could be between partners, with parents and children, other members of the family, friends, colleagues, and so on. Setting new boundaries so that you can each get your own needs met, so you can feel more satisfied in general, and also don't blame others for things that they're not responsible for, because we all get a little bit, you know, we're all a little bit more likely to be irritable during this time, or can be. How to have better relationships and communication with others, and some great techniques that you can start to use straight away. So how this will help? Well, relationships survive and thrive despite the lockdown, which is what we all want at the moment, because there's a lot of, you know, relationships are coming under a lot of pressure just at the moment. There's a lot more domestic violence. There's, you know, they expect a skyrocketing in divorces, breakups. So, you know, it's not all, obviously that's a bad thing, but it can be prevented. It definitely can be prevented. So that's what this is for, really. So manage relationships with others more effectively, anybody you live with, communicate more effectively, and manage emotions such as stress and pressure, or maybe irritability and things like that. So what if you could have the feeling of love or appreciation present all the time, so that relationships are more satisfying and supportive? Or would you love to just know that you can handle anything that might come up and resolve any conflict? So that's what this is about. Now, there is just one thing. A key component of relationships is emotional intelligence, which is the essential building block behind building great relationships. So unfortunately, we haven't got time to cover all of that today. But we are going to give you, we do have a more in-depth workshop, which we'll be doing, which gives you all the tools you need to start making relationships better and keep growing and getting better and better throughout your whole life. So we'll cover that then, but we will talk about, we'll obviously cover as much as we can today. So, right, so I'll start with John Gottman. So John Gottman is an American researcher. He spent over 40 years studying relationships. He's absolutely made it his life's work, and he has studied thousands and thousands of relationships in all sorts of different situations, and his research became so accurate that he was able to predict with 94% accuracy whether a couple would split up in the next 3 years. So it turns out the relationships really are, or actually the way we communicate with each other really is that predictable, and this gives us an enormous amount of control over our relationships, over whether they work out or not, which is great. So a couple of things he discovered, obviously he's discovered loads of things, but a couple of really important things he's discovered are that what holds true for couples in marriages or romantic relationships also holds true for other relationships, including friendships, work colleagues, parent-child relationships, sibling relationships, and others. So although I'm going to be talking mostly about, or referring mostly to couples during this presentation, but actually everything we say is equally relevant for any relationship with anybody else. So just kind of translate it according to who's in your life and who, it could be housemates, or, you know, whoever it is that you're living with, or whoever it is that you want to work on. And he also discovered the most important time of any relationship, which is in fact so important, it's the make or break time of a relationship, is, can anybody say? I can't answer any questions because I can't see them. But does anybody want to unmute yourself? Does anybody have an idea what it might be? The crucial make or break time of a relationship?
Is it love?
Great answer. Yes, well, love, I hope, is always present, not just at this particular time. So, great answer. No, but this is a particular time. So the particular crucial time of any relationship is when people are having a conflict, an argument, they have a complaint, a disagreement, a dissatisfaction, or any kind of grievance. So it's during the stress points, really. I mean, it's all easy for us to be, you know, rosy and loving when things are going well, but when things are getting strained, or when we're stressed, or when we're under pressure, or something like that, that's the time when relationships come under extra strain. Okay, so it's how we resolve those times, those conflicts, those disagreements, or whatever. That's the thing that can either make or break a relationship. So now all relationships need positive interactions to thrive. Really successful relationships have an actual ratio of positive to negative interactions for a successful relationship. I don't know if anybody has heard this. Anybody heard this? But the ratio between positive to negative interactions in a successful relationship is 20-1. That's in normal times. So that means, like, a positive interaction is just saying a nice word, or touching somebody on the arm, or, you know, anything that's considered positive. Listening, a smile. It can be small, it can be large, a cup of tea, you know, anything like that. A negative interaction is maybe a harsh word, or a shout, or a criticism, or a look, you know, a look of there's many kind of looks we can give. Angry look, or whatever. So that would be negative. Anything that has a negative effect on the other person, really. Okay. So during a successful relationship, the ratio of positive to negative interactions needs to be 20-1 for a relationship to be really good. Obviously, in relationships which aren't so good, that figure goes down. So during a conflict, there is also an ideal number of positive to negative interactions. During a conflict, or a difficult disagreement, a difficult discussion, or a sensitive discussion. So even in any relationship, it's normal to have these difficult times, and every relationship can survive them, no problem. But how you handle them is important. So during conflicts or arguments, what would the ratio of positive to negative interactions be then? Can anybody guess? What about 20-1? No, that's normal times. So not going to be that, right? What about 0.8-1? That's a figure that John Gottman found. So 0.8 positive for every 1 negative. And you think that would be about right?
Get water on here. I'll get water on here,
okay? Sorry, did somebody say something? No. Okay. So that is actually not correct. That is the figure for unhappy relationships, which are likely to break up in the next few years. So, and remember, by relationships, this is also families, like parent, child, siblings, friends, whatever, yeah? Although friends don't generally break up, but, you know, they get annoyed. So during a conflict, even in the most healthy relationship, the ideal ratio of positive to negative interactions is 5-1. So 5 positive for every 1 negative. So I'm going to expand a bit more on that in a moment. But it's surprising, isn't it, that even during an argument or a row, you want to be having 5 positive, like a smile, or a kind word, or something like, I understand, I see this is difficult, I'm sorry, something like that, for every negative interaction. Yeah, every negative word or phrase or sentence or whatever. So why is that? Anybody know why?
You feel better from
Yes,
positivity?
Exactly. Yes, like so many things with human beings, it all comes down to our emotions. So that's why building our emotional intelligence is really important. So emotional intelligence is, in short, our ability to manage and be aware of our emotions and those of others. So positive interactions give rise to positive emotions, and which helps us to feel calm, relaxed, which helps us to speak normally, have a conversation, and so on. Negative interactions give rise to negative emotions. It's kind of obvious, really. And one of the biggest negative emotions during a conflict is something called flooding, which is a rise in heart rate or blood pressure, where you get aroused, or you get angry, or you get like a negative flooding of upset. So it's not just anger, it's kind of just a negative, it's hard to describe it really, but I bet you can imagine what I mean. Anybody who's been in a relationship and has that, or been in an argument with somebody you care about, that flooding feeling is like a very negative feeling. And Goldman measured the emotions of people by measuring their pulse during this conflict, during this difficult conversation. So that way he could tell when their heart rate went up and down, indicating levels of distress. So people in successful relationships can perfectly well have a difference of opinion. They can still argue, or they can still, have a difficult discussion, even an argument, and remain relatively calm, even if maybe not quite relaxed, but they can remain calm, and they can, really not go for each other's, not go for the jugular kind of thing. So you may have heard of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is like the end of the world. Well, there are 4 horsemen of relationships, John Gottman found. And the 4 horsemen are stonewalling, which is just turning away and refusing to reply, or ignoring somebody. Harsh criticism, like attacking somebody. Defensiveness, which is kind of attacking in the opposite direction. And contempt, or like derisiveness. So all of those 4 things cause a massive spike in heart rate and blood pressure in the other person. So we go through each one and how to overcome them in our longer workshop. But yes, and they each obviously have an antidote as well, which we'll go into more detail. But don't worry, today we'll cover a lot of that. So these negative emotions are the threshold for when tempers get out of control and conflicts get out of hand. So things go from being a friendly disagreement, where the goal is to just resolve conflict and just restore the balance, which is a common goal by both people. And it becomes 2 people facing each other like adversaries or opponents, and each one wants to win at the expense of the other one. So it becomes a battleground, and once it's entered that territory, it can keep going there. So it can, so things can start to get rocky, basically. So again, I know we're talking in the context of marital or romantic relationships, but humans are humans, and these findings apply equally across all relationships. So whoever you're living with, these techniques are going to help, okay? So first one, watch what you say during a conflict. So basically, in order to prevent things escalating, to be able to do this, you basically stay as calm as you can. It's vital to stay relatively calm so that you can still listen. When we start to get aroused and annoyed or flooded, we're not unable to listen. We're actually unable to listen to what the other person is saying, and we're unable to make arrive at reasonable conclusions and think rationally. All of those things go out of the window. So it's important to stay calm. As soon as you feel and then also keep your goal to resolve the conflict, not to win or get the other person to back down. So not to win at somebody else's expense. Remember, you're on the same side. Don't take opposite sides. And arguments are in fact very easy to avoid if you refuse to say anything critical or negative. So it's important not to attack or be critical of the other person. Remember, maintain the ratio of positive to negative. So remember 5 to 1 during the conflict. So you can actually insert positive things into a conversation. For example, you can keep the tone quite light. Don't be flippant or sarcastic. If the other person is very serious or very upset, you can say things like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I quite understand it's difficult for you. But if they're not too upset, you can keep it light. So neither of you gets too upset. You can just keep things quite light. You can maybe even laugh or smile, you know, touch the arm or the shoulder or the hand, to express a little bit of affection. Validate their point of view. So say, I can understand you thinking that way. And you could say something appreciative, like, you know, I love the way you do X, Y, or Z. You know, I really appreciate how you're so good at blah, blah, blah. Or, so say something good. Say something you really appreciate about them. And obviously it must be genuine. You can't make stuff up, but, you know, something you genuinely appreciate. And listening is one of the best things you can do. Just giving somebody space to say what it is they want to say and get it out of their system is one of the biggest positive thing that you can insert into the conversation. So another one is start gently. So if you've got something that you want to say, like, you know, you never do the washing up and I'm always doing the washing up and it's pissing me off kind of thing. 80% of serious conflicts start with a criticism. And this is not the way to ever speak to anybody. It's not necessary. So you can express your being, you know, that you're unhappy about something without actually making it personal about that person. So we're going to do a little, so basically there's a difference between a complaint and a criticism. So we're just going to do a little quiz so that you know the difference between a complaint and a criticism. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves, because it's going to be a bit boring if you don't, but you don't have to. Soraya, do you want to do the quiz about complaint or criticism?
You go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, so number one, right? Is this a complaint or a criticism? I feel really upset when you speak to me that way. Please, could you speak more quietly? Complaint or criticism? Anybody?
Maybe a complaint.
Complaint.
That's a complaint. Yes, very good. You're just a lazy slob. You never do anything to help. Complaint or
Criticism.
criticism? You're always so selfish. Why didn't you make me some tea when you made your own?
Criticism.
Criticism.
Criticism. Great. Do you think you could do some of the household chores? It would really help if you could cover some of those regular jobs or take over some of those regular jobs.
Complaint.
Complaint.
Yeah, I
Great.
think so.
Yeah. Oh God, you're such a nightmare.
Criticism.
Criticism.
Criticism. Yes, very good. Why do you just leave your dirty washing lying around for me to pick up? It's disgusting.
Criticism.
Criticism. Exactly. Yeah, very good. Okay, so it's quite clear. So basically, a complaint aims at the action. A criticism aims at the person. So just aim it at the action and not the person. So great. Oh, sorry, that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Okay, and finally, don't let any conflict get out of hand. So to do this, stay cool, watch your arousal level during that time, during the conflict or disagreement or whatever. As long as you stay cool, you can listen to each other and have a conversation. But as soon as you begin to get angry or aroused, one or both stops listening and the possibility of resolving anything has gone. So if you feel yourself starting to get a little bit, you know, upset or aroused in any way, just stop and take a break. Now, if you just stop and walk out, that's stonewalling, and that leaves the other person really upset. So you need to communicate. Look, I'm getting a bit, getting a bit, angry, or whatever it is you're feeling. I'm getting a bit upset. I just, I can feel myself starting to lose my cool. I need to take a break. So is it all right? Do you mind if I take 10 minutes? I'll come back in shortly, and we'll resume. And that will massively increase the possibility of arriving at a happy conclusion and restoring the harmony. And also, don't discuss, like, during this time, this is a really kind of sensitive time with extra pressure, so you don't want to decide any big relationship decisions or address any big relationship issues at this difficult time. You want to just stick to sort of small everyday things until this time is over and get back to normal. Okay, so we've got another little quiz. So are these provocative statements which are making things worse and making things hotter, or are they calming statements which are likely to calm you both down? So number 1, what can I do to make this better?
Calming.
Calming.
Calming. Very good. Yes. For goodness sake, you're infuriating.
Provocative.
Provocative.
Provocative. Can I just check I'm understanding what you're saying? What you're saying is
Calming.
Calming. Great. You always do that just at the most annoying time.
Provocative.
Provocative. Can you just be quiet? You're really annoying me now.
Provocative.
Provocative. So what would you see as a good solution, or what do you think might work?
Calming.
Calming.
Great. I can understand you're frustrated right now.
Calming.
God, you just drive me mad when you say that kind of stuff.
Provocative.
Provocative.
Provocative, yeah. You just never listen, do you?
Provocative.
Provocative.
Provocative. I wonder if there's something we could each put in place to help prevent this happening again.
Calming.
Great. Okay, awesome. So that's the first one, is basically, how that will help. So, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? So it'll prevent minor disagreements escalating. By the way, very good, 10 out of 10 or 20 out of 20, or I don't know how many questions there were, but top marks, it was great. Well done. So these methods will get you through most things, most upsets, okay, that happen between people. Helps to restore peace and harmony, which is what we all need to actually help us get through this difficult time at the moment. And remember, these moments are the make or the break points of any relationship. Obviously, you're not going to split up with a friend or a child, but actually, do you want a happy child or a sullen child? Do you want a happy housemate or a resentful, hating housemate? Somebody who, a resentful housemate who just, doesn't want you around. So it's up to you whether the relationship is strengthened or weakened by these times. And finally, we're not a prisoner of our instincts. We can tame our reactions. And by the way, there's an interesting finding. Domestic violence is like, you think of domestic violence as being, a perpetrator and a victim. But 80% of domestic violence is actually both people letting their arguments get out of hand, and then they kind of maybe a slap here or a push there, and then things kind of escalate from there. So it's 80% of domestic violence is not actually kind of perpetrator and victim, where the perpetrator is just a bully and they just, that's only 20%. Most domestic violence is just people who can't control their tempers or who can't control themselves. So this, these little methods are really going to make a massive difference. Okay, so that was number 1. So now this is number 2. So that is setting new boundaries and having some me time. So, you may have some good boundaries during normal times in the household. However, it's probably a good idea when everybody's at home during this time, or everybody's at home a lot more, you need to maybe set some new boundaries and just change things around. So so one thing that I really like is firstly, you can sit down and think about what new arrangements might work better for you, and think about each person in the household. You can do things like maybe just have an evening meal together and everybody look after themselves for breakfast and lunch. You can make a certain room a quiet room, or a homework room, or a working room, or a study. Set some work times and home times, or school times or whatever. So certain times, say 9 to 5 or 9 to 1, and then 2 till 4, or whatever it is that you want to do, where you kind of all agree, and you don't kind of act. You just are at work during that time. And things like household chores, you do them outside those times, things like that. You can share out household tasks, so everybody does their bit. So somebody does the washing up, somebody sweeps the floor every day, and so on. Yeah. So everybody gets to kind of share in what there is that needs to be done. And it's really good to keep to a routine during these times, especially if you've got children. But for everybody, if you're working from home, then it's tempting to just like work in your pajamas or work from bed all day, but it's actually really unhealthy, and it contributes to lowering your mood. And if you've got if you're feeling lower, or like lower in spirits in general, then everything's going to get a bit more difficult. It's going to be more difficult to do anything that we've said before, and also it's going to be more difficult to keep your spirits up as well. So Stephen Covey, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about actually having a household meeting. So if you've got a family, he had 9 children, so there were 11 people in his household, and they used to have a family meeting every week, and everybody gets to say, so I need a bit of quiet time at this time or that time. Please, could you knock on my door before you come in, or like whatever. I like this place. Can I just have this place at that time? Or this is a particular program. Does anybody mind if I watch that program every day, every week, or whatever? And just whatever anybody can make requests, basically. And now, what I would say for you, for anybody who certainly, well, for anybody, so me particularly, or you, establish some me time, and you need to set a time when you're going to be undisturbed, and this is very important to keep yourself positive and happy during this time. So firstly, make that time a need. It could just be 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. It could be a bit longer, but make it a need rather than a want. So like, say you had some medication that the doctor gave you that you need to survive. You're going to make sure you've got that medication, and nothing's going to get in the way of you taking that and having that medication, otherwise, because your life is on the line. So you want to make your me time a need rather than a want. You don't usually get what you want, but you always get what you have to have, right? So make it a need. It's something really powerful in declaring, right, this is something I'm going to make sure I do. And it actually enables you to take care of other people better. It's one of the most selfless things that you can do. We might think it's selfish, but it's actually the very opposite to that, because it enables you to take care of other people better, much better. So you can use that time to relax, meditate, or do a bit of deep breathing. And what another good thing is to do is just be grateful for 3 things. Some people say be grateful for 3 things every day as a minimum, but you could do 10 things a day if you want. And just remember that this is an incredibly difficult time, but also there's some incredibly positive things about this time as well. So just be grateful. We've got the sun shining. We've got our freedom. We can go out once a day at least. We've got plenty of food in the shops. We've got oxygen. We've got a clean atmosphere. So lots to be grateful for. And And also it's good to write positive things down about your life at the moment. So to keep yourself in that good space. If you're starting to get resentful or annoyed with somebody, write down positive things about that person, whoever it is that you're living with. And it's actually scientifically been proven to improve your relationships with those people and also to improve your state of mind. So Saray, do you want to take us through?
Comment on this?
Great.
Yeah, this is called savoring. Savoring means if something positive happens to you, if you have a positive experience and you remember that positive experience, because those positive experience generates positive feelings in your mind, and that stays. So if you keep on savoring on most of your positive experiences, that helps you to boost your mood and improve well-being.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted to add.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much. So again, how that will help is quite obvious. Everybody's calmer. Everybody's in a more positive frame of mind, and you particularly, conflicts and grievances are less likely to arise, and they're less likely to get serious. Yeah, so I think that's it. Sorry, what I meant to say is, Saray, do you want to take us through a big breathing exercise?
Right now?
Yeah, have we got time?
Yeah, we have got some time.
Awesome. So, because that's a really good thing to do in your me time, just do a bit of deep breathing. So I'm going to stop the screen share. Have I stopped the screen share?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, Saray, do you want to go ahead?
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Hi, everyone. I'm Suraya Zabin. So in my face-to-face workshop, I generally start my presentation with a heart opening exercise. And that in that heart opening exercise, you have to stand up and then open your arms like that, and then do deep breathing. So I will explain the process. And if you can, possibly, please stand up. I will stand up in a minute. Stand up and do this exercise with me. So this is called heart opening box breathing exercise. It works like a box. In every side of the box, you inhale for 4 heartbeats, and then you pause for 4 heartbeats, and then you exhale for 4 heartbeats, and you pause for 4 heartbeats, and you do this cycle 4 or 5 times, and this immediately calms you down. It takes just 4 minutes to calm down. Sometimes I find it difficult to focus and concentrate on my work. I have slight ADHD, so this really helps and bring me to focus on my work. So if it is comfortable for you, please stand up and do this exercise with me. So take a deep breath, and while you're breathing, put your hands like that. Take a deep breath and open your arms as far as you can. And pause for 4 heartbeats. And then exhale while you bring your arms together. Together like this, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Then take another deep breath and open your arms like that. Pause and then exhale. Take another deep breath. Pause. Exhale. Last one. Pause. Exhale. Thank you for doing this with me.
That's lovely. Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah, you can.
Anybody else feel that?
Yes, I'm so
Yeah, it's very relaxing.
yeah.
Lovely, isn't it?
You do when you're on your own. You do a couple of more times. In the face-to-face meeting, we do a couple of more times. It really calms everyone. So today I'm going to talk about reframing. I can hear some noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Muted.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So
Charlie.
I have a little presentation that I would like to share with you. Is the presentation? Can you see this presentation?
Yeah.
Yes,
I can-
yes.
Okay, great. So, you know, we are now in lockdown. You may be spending more time with your partner and your children due to the ongoing social distancing measure. Probably you both are working from home with nowhere to go in the evening. There is a chance that you might start to get on each other's nerve. Perhaps it's happening already. So this situation, if someone is thinking that this situation will end pretty soon, it won't. This situation will be like this for some time to come. So in the face of this reality, reframing can be a very useful tool because it reduces stress. It reduces stress means psychological stress and all the impacts of stress, physical impact on physical health, such as blood pressure, cholesterol, high cholesterol level, heart disease, etc. So what is cognitive reframing? Cognitive reframing is being able to recognize a challenge, to recognize and challenge and change unhelpful, stress-inducing thought patterns to constructive and helpful thought patterns. So this is related to the very, it's a very common diagram that relates to thought, feelings, and behavior. This is called the cognitive triangle because these are all are interrelated. So what we think, the thought we think makes us feel different types of emotion. So every day there are 36,000 of emotion, and every day we more or less experience 400 types of emotion, and we don't know what kind of emotion, we don't even know what kind of emotion we are feeling. We know a couple, but we don't know most of them. And then based on our emotion, how we feel, we behave. To explain this, I have created this diagram. So for example, you have experienced something negative. So you will think about it, and your brain will have a thought pattern in response to that event, whatever happened. And this will frame how you communicate and express yourself. So if something bad happened, then you may think why that happened to me, and what is my fault, and why that person said that to me, and so on. So then others or other people perceive you in response to what you have said or how you behave. So let me explain this again. So you have something happen to you and a thought process kicks in your head, and then you communicate. That affects your communication and expression in your words, in your language, in your body language, etc. And depending on this, other people perceive you. And then what happens? Your response depends on their response, and that makes you think again. So this cycle goes again and again and again. And now, if you reframed it when, the step 1 on the top left, if you reframed, something happened. If you reframed in step 1, then you could control step 2, step 3, step 4. So we will learn about how to reframe. I will tell you the steps, but we explain in great detail in our course. So this is Martin. So Martin is a neurosurgeon. He is married to his wife for a decade now, over a decade. And his wife is also a doctor. Her name is Sarah. And then they have 2 beautiful children. And what happens is Martin is this is an very, I wouldn't say extreme, but this is a extreme. Okay, this is a really extreme example. So Martin abuses, verbally abuses Sarah. Because Sarah, why? Because Sarah doesn't have a job at the moment. She is a doctor too, but she doesn't have a job. She had her daughter 4 years ago, and she looks after the children. She's looking for jobs. So the types of thing that Martin would say to his wife, that you are worthless, you are useless, your education is meaningless, you will never get a job, and you are lazy and useless. So this type of comments Martin would make to his wife, Sarah. Then Sarah thinks to herself that, oh, probably what he is saying is probably true. I am worthless. And since she thinks like that, she feels less confident, and she doesn't take enough initiatives. She doesn't put a lot of effort on looking for a job or preparing for the interview or or taking a course, or she doesn't even take the initiative to take a course on positive psychology or go to a therapist, because there are a lot of helps available, and if you want to, you can. So when Sarah thinks about things like that, then that not only affects her well-being, it also affects her children's well-being and her friends' well-being and her close relatives' well-being, because the person Sarah is with, she shares, then they are also affected, their well-being also affected. So this is, but if Sarah wanted, she could refrain and she could change her, improve her well-being. So 4 powerful steps of reframing. So first of all, we need to acknowledge and identify our own thoughts and our own thought patterns. Thoughts are generally depends on what type of belief that we have, and beliefs are formed by the age of 7. how we can do it? We can do it by journaling. Journaling, researchers found that journaling is a very, very, very helpful method to identify your thoughts. If you journal every day at the same time for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes, I find 5 minutes is doable. You can do it repetitively every day. 5 minutes is easier. It doesn't feel like it's too much work. So if you write down your thoughts that bothers you every day, then after 30 days, after 7 days, after 15 days, after 4 weeks, you have data and you can deal. You will see a pattern, and then the next step starts. Then the number 2 is what am I assuming about the situation? Let's go back to the example. Sarah was being abused by Martin for over 10 years, and she's not doing anything about it other than complaining that, okay, he does to me, he's a bad person and this and that. But what he could do, he could see that, okay, he is saying all these maybe because of his own past, maybe because he was traumatized when he was a child. Maybe he's doing this, I don't know, because all these things that he's saying, none of these are true. Because I am qualified, I know, I have evidence that I can be confident. Otherwise, I wouldn't have my degree. I wouldn't have a job before I left my job. So Sarah would be able to assess the situation and then think that, oh, no, what Martin is saying is not true, is totally false, so it shouldn't affect me. And it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, and it also takes patience, and it also takes perseverance to do it constantly. So it happens like very slowly and gradually. So number 3 is, how can I see this in a more constructive light? Let's go back to Sarah's example. Sarah could probably think, okay, so I don't have a job at the moment, so what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get a job? And I mean, it's the pros and cons. If I spend my time feeling miserable, feeling awful because somebody said something to me, is this worth it? Is this worth it? Or it is sensible for me to do something productive, to do something to resolve my situations, because I don't have a job. What would I like? I want to have a job, so what do I need to do to get a job? If I can solve this problem on my own, I need help. And what is stopping me from asking help? There are like thousands, like millions coaches, good coaches, therapists, counselors. You can go, and that will, the cognitive behavioral therapists, that's what they do. They change, they reframe, they teach you how to reframe, and you can get help. And until you see that, this situation can be improved, you don't seek help. I can, in face-to-face workshops or in longer workshop, I explain my experience, my life experience. I share my life experience, but I'm not going to do it here. We are running out of time. So last is, how can I express myself with this reframe? What can I say? So when I hear those words or those sentences, derogatory sentences, derogatory words, then can I control what is in my control? Teach your brain what you can say or what you can think, at least, that will not stress you out, but that will make you calm. So yeah, I think that's that's all from me. Practice reframing. I have put together a document where I included a common, I think 100 limiting beliefs that we say to ourselves every day, that I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm weak, I will never be able to do this, I won't be able to learn it, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. We say this all the time. How to change those? What can we see? Because I'm a great believer of affirmation. Affirmation really, really works. If you say good things about yourself, then you feel good. And when you feel good, you can make other people feel good as well. So affirmation every day in the morning, take out 2 minutes of your time. And like Marina said, gratitude is also important. Researchers found that gratitude really helps to improve your well-being. It lifts your mood. Affirmation also, positive affirmation, you need to convince yourself, you need to persuade yourself, you need to tell yourself, yes, I can do it. I believe that everybody is talented, and anybody can do anything. Yes, do you want to add something, Marina?
Yeah, I just wanted to add about I love what you said about journaling. I think I'm gonna, because it's not something I've been doing very much, but journaling is really, really helpful. And it's amazing how many of our thoughts are unconscious. So we may think, I know what I'm thinking and I know what my thoughts are, but actually so many of probably the vast majority of our thoughts are completely unconscious. So we can't then tackle them, and we can't reframe them in this way unless we actually make them conscious first. So there's many ways of making them conscious, but journaling is one of the best, I think. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's more difficult because you have to keep stopping and like becoming aware of it. And after I started to really change my thought patterns, I actually it took me a couple of years at least before I realized, although my conscious thoughts were quite positive, underneath I had a load of these negative thoughts still running all on their own quite automatically. So human beings have something called automatic thoughts, and they carry on running and running and running, and it's actually you have to drill down to those.
That comes from your negative belief, from your unhelpful negative, let's not say that. That comes from unhelpful belief that we picked up. Those are not our beliefs. Those are not, somebody says to us when we were a child, and then we started believing it. But those don't define us. They shouldn't. And we are still running that old, outdated thought patterns.
And it can apply to our thoughts about other people as well as to our thoughts about ourselves, or our thoughts about the situation. So it can apply to anything. So reframing, it's not just about yourself. It can be about the situation. It can be about the people that you're living with, anybody you've got a problem with. Reframing is a massively powerful technique.
Yeah, you can improve your work relationship as well with reframing, the relationship with your boss, with other colleagues. I used to have a very nasty colleague. I shouldn't say that, but I had. He was really nasty. And how do you protect yourself from all these? Because the world is not perfect. There are all kinds of people. You need to protect your well-being. Your well-being is the #1 priority. Because if you don't feel well, you can make your loved ones, your spouse, your children, you can't make them, they will suffer because of you. And it happens quite often.
Yeah. Yeah, looking after your well-being is a selfless thing. It's not selfish.
Yeah, it is. It is. I totally agree with you, Marina. It's really selfless, because if you can't, if you are not happy, you can't make other people happy. So it's not selfish. It is a selfless thing. With that, I would like to explain a little bit about our course. It is a 4 weeks course with webinar every week on, we will set the date. And do you want to talk a little bit about the course, Marina?
Yes, so the course is on overcoming stress during the lockdown. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Hello?
So, so every each week, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Great. So each week we discuss something different, and they're all going to be like really relevant things, ways to overcome stress and anxiety, things that you can do to put in place to stop tensions getting high. We cover like relationships, we cover our own peace of mind, our own well-being as well.
And also we cover ROI, return on investment, because the time that we waste, because due to the fact that we spend so much time feeling bad and we are not productive, and how much it costs us. If you just, take a journal, your journal will say that how much time you spend worrying about something, feeling frustrated, and then you could be working, you could be doing something productive, working and making some money from it. At the end of the day, financial finance is really important, and we have to earn our living, right? So being stressed is not helping us. It's not helping us. We need to learn, maybe, there are a lot of free material as well. I would invite everyone to, you have some free material on your website, leadyourself.co.uk. There are other free materials as well. You look, search for it and then find out, and we will put together some links, helpful links as well, send you some links. Normally we do. You educate yourself on this, and next year by this time, 23rd April, your improvement, we expect your well-being to be improved. You will have built resilience and have become more happier than you are now.
Absolutely. And also doing something like this helps you to, like Sarah was saying about resilience, we may be fine now, but we never know when something's going to happen, like some sort of, I don't know, we might lose our job, we might get into debt, we might have a relationship breakdown, or anything can go wrong, and that could affect our well-being severely. So actually, if we put some time and some effort into that area, our emotional and mental well-being, that can massively improve our resilience. So because they say it's not about getting knocked down. We all have knocks. Life is a series of knocks. That's what life is. You could define life as a series of problems, a series of things going wrong, and a series of things knocking you down. But it's about getting up again. So how quickly do you get up again? Can you get up again? Like for me, something went wrong a few years ago. I had a bad relationship and I was down for 2 years. So that was, a sign that I really needed to do something. So I've done that. I've got that experience, and I've put so much, into really building up my resilience. And this is something that we can all do. So you don't sink into depression, sink into anxiety, sink into some clinical thing that, you know, 1 in 4, I think it's near between 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 people have a mental problem like depression, anxiety, or you know, something like that over there at any one point during their life, and none of us are immune.
Okay, so with that, we would like to end today's webinar. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. And if you have any question, please ask. This is the question time. You know, we'll be here another 5 minutes.